Hey guys, how's it going? So we have been given the gift of a beautiful overcast day. We've had over 3 weeks of 100+ temperatures with full sun. So when we saw this overcast day, we thought, oh, this would be the perfect day to take you guys through the cut flower garden and show you how everything's doing. I feel like right now it's a perfect time too, because especially in this quadrant here, I'm getting ready to tear out a bunch of stuff. So I've got like stock flowers and things that are cool season flowers that are still like languishing through this heat that need to come out. So it'd be good to show you kind of what went down this spring before I get ready to plant my next kind of phase of stuff, which I'm going to be doing some short day flowers and some fall crops. So I wanted to start right out here in the front of the garden, which I can't decide if we call it the cut flower garden because it's become kind of a plant whatever you want sort of a garden. We get a lot of vegetable and fruit production from this space as well. I mean, take for example, right outside the garden, we had these beds built this spring, and we showed you in a video when I planted this one up. These are 30 feet long, 3 feet wide. This one is full of red raspberries called Heritage, so we were able to fill up the whole thing. We've had a pretty windy spring, so a lot of them got really beat up right after we planted them, and I could say that about several of the crops out here, but they really do look good, and I'm super happy to have them out here. I haven't been able to pick anything off of them, but I think it's mostly because, like, you can see what happens to the older canes. They were kind of drying, but worse than this. They were really kind of crispy and brown, and so I did trim a bunch of those off earlier on just to kind of clean up the plant. Oh, look at this. Looks like this one was gonna try to produce some berries right there. I'm super excited for next year because I think we're gonna have an amazing crop from this space. In this one here, I intend to plant this one full of fall gold raspberries, which are a gold color raspberry. They have a really high sugar content and they're one of my favorites. I have two. I actually had three. One of them did not survive. So I've got two beautiful looking plants. The rest of this bed I just filled with random stuff because I knew I wasn't gonna be able to put raspberries in it. So these are called pumpkin on a stick. Never grown them before. I started these from seed. Look at the leaves. The leaves have thorns. Like, what in the world? And they're sharp. Front and back. These are like monster plants, and apparently they form stems with like little pumpkin looking pods. They better, for all the thorns here. And then we've got some Tomatillos here, started from seed. And I think that's an eggplant that I also started from seed, an Easter egg eggplant. There's a few blooms on it. Haven't had any eggplants yet. And you may remember I had initially planted this end of the bed with sweet potatoes, and only one of them took, and I completely failed. And I should have known better, but I had 25 sweet potato slips. They were wrapped in a wet paper towel in a cup on our kitchen windowsill, which is, inside it's nice and cool. Our window faces north, so it's very shaded. I brought those slips out here on a 100-degree day and planted them in full sun. I didn't even think about hardening them off or exposing them to a little bit more sunlight every day so that they could handle it. And of course, they immediately, like that day, they scorched. And this is the only one that had enough root system on it to handle it. So the whole top died off on this one and it formed a new one and it's growing. So we'll see. We'll maybe get 1 or 2 dinners worth of sweet potatoes off of that plant. And then I have a blue Hubbard squash here, because I had an extra plant from a project I was working on somewhere else and decided I have some space right here, it's perfect. And there are several little Hubbard squashes. Is that right? Is the plural of squash just squash? Probably. There are several squash on this plant. Right here, we did have a grape structure built. This is 30 feet long, 6 feet tall, and I have a run. This is like at 5.5 feet, the first wire cable, and then this one is at 2, I think. Anyway, we of course can't get grapes until next spring, so I'm thinking 3 or 4 grapevines on this structure, and they'll produce a beautiful green wall and then some fruit as well. And then we did decide, we ordered enough lumber to create, when we ordered for these first 2 beds, we ordered enough to do a big long strawberry bed, but I decided to do the same thing so it was very uniform up here in terms of like the trellising system, and we are going to fill this one full of blackberries. So we'll have 30 feet of blackberries, our gold raspberries, and our red raspberries. So let's head back up to the front of the flower garden. And all of this in between the beds is going to be mulched. We had talked about possibly doing grass in this space, and I think we still are, like through the main parts of the cut flower garden, but this area here will be mulched. because I think it would be a little hard, especially toward the grapes, because grapes get kind of wide. It'd be hard to get a mower in there and kind of keep it tidy. So I think mulch will be best for this space here. Let me show you this container first. I do have to show you that one too. It looks okay, but not as good as this one. So we've got in the center our obelisk, which is awesome. I love the structure this brings to the area, and it's kind of a mirror of the obelisks we have in the center. Am I saying that right? Obelisk. We've got a new black-eyed Susan vine. This one's called Coconut Appeal. That's really just starting to take off, and I kind of remember that about the other ones. They kind of sit for a little while, and then it's kind of like when you get a lot of heat, they just take off. So this one's starting to climb up the form here in the center, and that's going to be really pretty. A couple of new plants I tried out. This is an Angelonia called, I think, Cascade Snow. If I'm wrong, we'll put the correct name on the screen, but isn't that beautiful? Kind of coming down really gracefully here, and there's some of the black-eyed Susan vine coming down as well. There's the Supertunia limoncello. There's a new lantana called Citron, I think, Luscious Citron, and it's keeping up, but almost not with the other stuff in here. We've got the White Knight Lobularia, which that plant's always amazing. You need an amazing plant a Lobularia that's White Knight, Snow Princess, Violet Knight. There's probably one I'm missing. Anyway, they're just an amazing plant. And then what else did I put in here? Oh, the Osteospermum Bright Lights Yellow, which I'm seeing a few of the flowers kind of pop through here and there, but I'm really happy with the way this looks. This one, let me show you what happened. So the plants are looking okay in here. I had to pull out the lantana, or a couple of the lantana. I see a couple still in here. So I didn't realize that this one was plugged. It was completely full of water one day when I came out here, and these are huge pots, so it was massively heavy, and it crunched the pot down. Like, it totally bent and squished the pot down, and I don't know if it was a combination of all that water, plus this gets baked by the heat, and this is just a plastic pot. Like, that's not, right? It's just a plastic pot. So I don't know if it was like so warm from the heat, and then all of that weight, it just like crunched the pot, which makes me so sad, because I love these pots up here, and these are not cheap. And so I'm like, should I replace it? Should I try to build one that's this size? Because I feel like I need to have big containers at the entry of this garden, because it's a big space. You need to have kind of bigger things, but happy that the plants rebounded from that little incident. Okay, now I want to go kind of quadrant by quadrant and explain what we have going on. In this one here, we've got all of our pumpkins, squash, cantaloupe, and watermelon, and they're all doing pretty well. I did have to reseed, I think, 4 or 5 hills. I either like had one plant come up, or I didn't have anything come up at all. And I was wondering, a few of the packets of seeds that I had were a little bit on the older side, so I wasn't sure if I would get germination. Like this one here, I've had the Quaker Pie pumpkin seeds since we lived in our old house, and I had them for several years when we lived there, so I don't really know how old they were. And I have one plant that came up, but I used up all my seeds, so I left it. I don't know if I'll get anything off of this one. I think this is the smallest one of the whole patch, though. Everything else is just like flourishing and doing great. I mean, look in here. This is exciting. Look at what we've got going on. I see 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this side. These are Casperita pumpkins. I honestly don't think that these have very much longer until they're ready. Those stems just need to kind of brown up a bit, and I see tons of little ones. That's always so exciting, and it's fun to see the growth habit too of things, because I kind of figured it's a pumpkin, it's going to need all the space, but this one's kind of growing more like a bush. So it's kind of nice to note those things from year to year and know that I'm not going to need as much space for this type of pumpkin going forward. That is good information to log away from year to year. Now let me show you some of the melons back here. Really happy with the progress. We've got a Tuscany melon here. This is like I don't know if they term it a cantaloupe or a muskmelon, but they are fantastic. There's a few, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I'm seeing, and a bunch of little ones. So I can't remember the maturity date, but this is one of the sweetest melons. Then we've got honeydew right here. These are looking really good. I think I lost, oh, there's a nice big one. Look at this. This is like a treasure hunt. Oh my word. Look at all of these. There's a whole bunch. There's another one over there. The thing I did differently with the melons this year is that last year I had all the pumpkins and squash and melons on the same watering system. And I do have these all on the same watering system this year as well, except this back line here are watermelon. And I have some inline valves right here on either side to where I can turn the water off and it'll eliminate the water coming to this back line. So I'm not ready to do it yet, but once I've got lots of watermelon set on the vine, I'll probably start cutting the water, and that will help the fruits kind of accumulate sugars, flavor up really nicely, and not be really watery. And I couldn't do that last year because there was no way I could separate my watermelons from my pumpkins. Pumpkins take a lot more water. This one's a crimson sweet right here. A cute little thing. Benjamin picked one of these night before last, I think. We were out here and I was watering a pumpkin over there that was looking a little wilted. And he said, "Look, Mom, a baby pumpkin, it growed up." And he was standing right here and he was holding this baby watermelon up in his hands. He knew by the end that he needed to check with me to make sure that it didn't need to grow any more before it was ready to be picked. But it was pretty cute. I don't want to squash his enthusiasm because he loves to be out here picking things and being involved. Lots of sugar babies over here, which was the best flavored one that I had. I think there's like 9 or 10, and then a bunch of little ones. So look at this. Isn't that a beauty right there? So excited about it. Okay, well, while we're right here, may as well just kind of go through this area, starting with the sweet peas. It was the very first thing that we planted over here. I did leave them instead of pulling them. I mean, they're still blooming and looking pretty good, which isn't that amazing, given the fact that we've had such hot weather. They've done really well, and I think some of them have gotten taller than any of mine got last year. So I was thrilled because you guys remember this was probably the worst battered crop we had. I planted all of these out and then we had a horrible, do we have footage of that windstorm? Yeah, maybe we can put some of that on the screen because it just, it killed some of them. Some of them were completely dead at the base and they had to come up new from roots, and it set them way, way, way back. And I thought, well, I'm not gonna get any sweet peas this year, which, that's kind of the way it goes. You never know what Mother Nature's gonna throw at you. So I am so thrilled that many of them have done really well, and they smell so good. Whenever I drive the gator by here, they just perfume the air over here. I had space at the end of each one of these rows for a couple plants. I decided to put some cucumbers in here. One I just harvested yesterday. I'm harvesting 8 or 9 every single day. And these are a bush cucumber right here. And I am just amazed. I am absolutely amazed by how many cucumbers grow on these. Did I save a tag? I want to make sure. Let's see. Salad bush is the variety on this one. Okay, hold on. I'm going to finish because since I'm down here, every time I get down, I'm going to try to make it count. So 20 harvested today, and I'm doing that every single day. There are tons more that I could have picked today that are maybe slightly on the small side, so tomorrow I'll pick a whole bunch more. It's just crazy. I mean, I've had cucumbers produce really well, but I feel like this is a lot, especially off of 2 tiny little plants. Next couple of rows are sunflowers. This one's called the Saturn Helianthus. Well, that's what sunflowers are, Helianthus. This is a new one for proven winners next year. We have some in containers, and I wanted to try some kind of field trials almost. Put them out here and see how they do. The honeybees love them, and they are just a beautiful flower. And I like how each one of them has a fairly long stem, so I can use these for cut arrangements really well. Some of them are just kind of getting ready to bloom. These are like the teddy bear type. And we've got sunspots, which I don't know what's going on here. A couple of rogue random seeds that are a little bit bigger than the rest, but these will produce 10-inch flowers on shorter plants. And then our first taller variety to bloom always, Pro Cut Plum. Beautiful. These are a single stem. So I'll start harvesting these and pulling them, and then I will actually have enough time to put in another short day sunflower in its space. On the other side, we've got, maybe it's on this side. Let me pop over there. I did a video when we planted all the sunflowers, and there's just a ton of varieties here. This one, oh yeah. Look at this. I have the tag right here. This is a drop dead red right here. Isn't that pretty? And you can see these are multi-stem, so there's going to be a lot of different blooms. And I'm not sure, I don't know what this one's doing here. Doesn't go with, maybe it goes in the same mix. Oh, we've got some of these, which I thought at first had really poor germination. They're called vanilla ice, but they are starting to bloom. So just a daintier, like kind of almost daisy size bloom there. And then beyond the sunflowers, we've got our corn, Ambrosia corn, and you can see it's tasseled and it's forming its ears. This one's got 2 ears on it here. So we just have to wait a little bit longer for a little bit of corn. I'm super excited for that harvest, really excited. And then this row right here, this is Amaranth. And I planted 4 different types of Amaranth: hot biscuits, coral, fountain, emerald tassels, and red spike. So we'll have 4 different beautiful colors of Amaranth to use. Really wonderful in fall decorating. I love the foliage color on this one in particular. This must be the red spike. So pretty. The back part of this row I just seeded. So I think I put nasturtiums in here. Well, there's a few random plants. I had a few random basil plants that I popped in here. And yeah, I just seeded this with nasturtiums. So I see a couple of them have come up. So anyway, that's what is in here, what variety of nasturtium. I think that these were, I can't remember. I didn't put a tag out here. I don't know why I didn't. But anyway, that should be filled up here pretty quick. The artichokes are amazing. Just amazing. Started these, you know, from seed this winter. Come look at this one right here. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4. Ouch. They're really spiky. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then 14 if you count the one that I already cut from the center off of one plant. So I did harvest the first kind of the big ones out of the center, and then these are all usually they're smaller, I guess. I don't know a whole lot about growing artichokes other than the fact that they clearly like it out here. And I think there are zone 6 or 7, and I'm gonna try mulching them up and see if they'll come back next year. I think that would be really fun if they would. But I'm going to use the rest of these, I think, for flower arranging. I'm going to dry some of them and maybe make some wreaths and things like that. So I'm just really happy. And typically when I have these in our seed, like the studio with all the rest of our seeds, they typically attract aphids really bad, but I have not had an issue with them out here. So I'm thankful for that. Like once we got them out with some really good airflow, I think that just helped them out, and they haven't been bothered by anything else. But the growth pattern, they're just a gorgeous plant. I really like them. Right in this row here, we've got cosmos that I just seeded, a little bit of mignonette, which was kind of a so-so crop. It's coming up and blooming, but it hasn't done a whole lot yet. And then I've got some gorgeous Celosia. Not sure how to pronounce it, but I've got some coral color and some red Celosia out here. And I just really like the way it looks, just the plant itself right now. And then we've got some basil in here as well. There's some amethyst. I think that this one's cardinal. It's not cinnamon, I don't think. Oh, it smells good. This row here are the peppers. And I think, yeah, we even have some that are starting to color up nice. So we've got red bells, green bells, orange bells, and we've got a broken pepper shoot. That's what happens when you start getting some really heavy fruit on these. Sometimes they crack and break. But really happy with how these have done. I actually had to give these quite a bit of supplemental water right after we planted them. Seemed like we had a heat spell right away, but they have really come through. Look at this. This is a banana pepper right here. It's loaded. And we've got, let's see, those are Rayano peppers. This one is called Barracuda. We've got gypsy peppers, and then these are some Thai hots right here. Look how many peppers are in there. It's crazy. These are really spicy to me, anyway. Then we have one zucchini plant, which I have not been I was diligent for like the first 2 weeks. It was producing, and then I stopped being diligent. I need to give these to the chickens. There's another great big one over there. I just seeded some California poppies right here. A few of them are up, but we should have a nice crop here in a couple of weeks. This right here, I can't remember what this is. Did I put a tag here? Hold on. These are Feverfew right here. And I planted 3 different kinds, so I'm not sure which one's which, but that should be fun. It's got a really pretty leaf structure. Planted some zinnias right here, and those are all up. A lot of these spaces, like I harvested something from spring, and so I just popped some more seed in the ground, which is what I'm getting ready to do up there. Right here where the cabbages were, I planted 2 rows of sunspot sunflowers. So they'll get roughly this tall, and they'll have the great big flowers. So you'll see this like aisle of sunflowers. I think it'll be really pretty. Before we get too into this area here, I wanted to talk about the orchard a little bit because things are doing pretty well. We are about ready to break ground on a flower shed right out here. It's just gonna be, it's not heated or air conditioned or anything like that. It's just gonna kind of be a really cute little shell of a building with a table in it so I can, you know, do my flower arranging, work on harvesting or whatever, and store some tools and fertilizers and things like that in here. So that will happen. I think it's going to be roughly 17 feet by 12 feet will be the size of it. And I think it'll be so pretty when you look at it from the entryway and you can see like the rows of sunflowers, and that we'll have French doors in the front with the French doors open, especially once we get the orchard trees up and grown a little bit. And then I want to plant kind of a meadow. I want a meadow natural feel underneath all of our orchard trees. You can see the apricot. This is a Tilton apricot right here. These are good fruit. Something's eating on them. I don't know what it is, bird maybe, but I've eaten a ton of these too. So these are a little bit more, well, they're small this year. Most of the time people pull the fruit off the tree the first year and don't let it fruit, but I can't wait till the second year. So anyway, I've been enjoying them. I planted a different type of apricot on this side. It's not near as good. This one's a Cot Apricot. And what I noticed the difference between the two of these, this one had a prettier colored fruit, which is on the ground, but they were mealy. They were mealy and very mild flavor. The Tilton have a very sweet flavor, and the texture is much better. So I'm actually thinking, well, while these trees are small, I may as well remove this one, see if somebody wants it. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's the area. Maybe if I gave it a longer chance, it would be a better flavor. I don't know if it was just a first year fluke, but I really want to have stuff in here that I really like. So I don't know what I'm going to do there. Of course, we've got an apple tree that's just got a couple apples on it. Nectarine has 3 nectarines. This is a Santa Rosa plum right here, which is they're starting to color up, which is exciting. This tree looks really good. The pear, I'm not sure about, you guys. It's beautiful. It's a red Bartlett. Look at this poor thing is like, trying to hold these fruit on. Look how cute those are. The tree had blight this spring. So the whole top of it, I cut the whole top out. So it had a fire blight like our other pyrus, pears, and malice. Crab apples and apple trees are especially susceptible to fire blight, and I was so bummed when I saw that. You can kind of see some of the damage right here. It gets dried leaves that kind of have this right here. I haven't trimmed this off yet because I haven't had my pruners out here, and I need to bring them out with cleaner and all of that. The rest of the tree looks okay, but I'm gonna just be watching it. This one will be behind the cut flower shed, so maybe that's okay. I don't know. We can kind of limp it by. It's got such pretty fruit. We've got a couple of peach trees back here. There's a Snow Beauty or something like that. Did I leave the tags on? I have an Alberta. This might be the Alberta. Yep, this is the Alberta. And this one, which is loaded, I need to thin this one. Snow Beauty White Peach. Tons of fruit on this one. I need to come through and thin some of these out. And then our Honeycrisp apple, no, this is our Fuji, Honeycrisp on the other side. This one has a few apples on it, so it's exciting. So in this area here, we have our Dahlias, which are just starting to kind of explode. It kind of took some heat for them to get up and going. I had a little bit of trials trying to get the water just right, and we ended up kicking it up to twice a day when it was 105, 108 degrees because they were just wilting out here. So I don't know, have we backed off, or are we still doing twice a day? Right? still twice a day at this point, but they're looking better. There's a couple of holes where some of them didn't come up, but for the most part, they're full, they're thick, and I've actually cut lots of blooms. I came through last night, there's tons of buds and a few flowers, but I came through and cut a big bouquet last night. So I think it's just beginning, which last year by this time, because we planted them in June, they were probably, I don't know, like this high and no buds or anything yet. So we're a little ahead this year, which is awesome. But we've got some really pretty color I see starting to come through. Maybe we'll do more of a complete dahlia tour once I have more color out here. In this row here, just beyond the dahlias, I've got gladiolus, which are starting to bloom. I also have some cantaloupe. I had 2 extra plants. Look at this right here. I had 2 extra cantaloupe plants from another project, and I had extra space right here, like from here to here, and then right at the end of this row because I didn't have enough onions to fill it. So I just popped the 2 plants here. They're doing great. Bunch of onions in here. They're starting to die back, so I'm about ready to harvest all of these. But this is exciting. Look at this. Look how pretty. So I have white ones called Alaska, and then buttery yellow ones called Lemon Drop. Brussels sprouts need to come out, so I'll have extra space right there. Those are just eaten to death. I plant Brussels sprouts kind of to act as a host crop for aphids, mostly, and it looks like earwigs have gotten to them too. But you know, they keep the aphids off of so many other things. It looks pretty looking this way. Look at that, like the layering of all the plants over there. That's exciting. This space has been interesting because last year, you know, it was such kind of a throw everything at the ground and see what happens sort of a project. And if you might remember, it was way over there last year. And I thought, you know, over the winter, I should be really like start to organize and have a really good plan in place for succession crops and like know when to have what crop go in at what time so that I maximize my space. And I think every year I'll get better, but this year totally we had so much going on. I just kind of did the same thing and threw stuff at the space, just hoping for the best. And so far it's going well. I'm thankful for that. All right, so the very last quadrant here, there are a few things that will stay probably till the end of the season. And then there's a lot that needs to come out at this point because they were spring things or intended to be spring things. So let's kind of start at this outer row here. We've got Snapdragons, which most of them still look really good. Like I can still harvest. These are the Madame Butterfly bronze with white right here. They need to come out, but there's still new stems coming up. The white and light pinks are pretty much, they're getting close to being done. So I can pull those, and then the Potomac yellows need to come out, and then I've got Potomac lavender, or is it Costa lavender? I can't remember, but that one up there looks really good. Madame Butterfly yellow is good. Madame Butterfly bronze is good. And then I've got stock and asters in this row, which I'm still working out the watering. So something I've learned this year is I need to put asters on their own water. I've got some that look good and are starting to bloom right here, and then some that are there's just too much water for them, but I have to keep it on in order to keep the rest of the stuff in the row happy. So I know that for next year, and I can kind of separate them kind of like I did the watermelon. In this row here, let's kind of go back out this way, we've got zinnias, several different varieties that are looking good. So these will stay all the way through the rest of the season. And then in the row next to it, we've got cosmos that just have come up. And then there are lilies, which I planted for you guys in a video. And we'll see, you can see some of them have come up and there's some bare spots. So I don't know, kind of hit and miss with those. The one thing with drip tape is that I'm constantly doing this, trying to make it straight. With all the heat and then the cold water going through it and then just the motion, it gets itself all squirreled around on the ground. And once crops are up, like this one here, I don't ever have to worry about it. But when I can see it and when it's exposed, it does that. And there's no amount of landscape staples that will help. I tried on several of these rows to put landscape staples every few feet and they still got all weird. First part of this row, we've got nasturtiums. And then we've got the mahogany splendor hibiscus, which is looking awesome. They stayed about this big for a really, really long time. And I was a little bit worried for them. And they've just recently taken off. And in the front part of that row, we have some stock. This row here, they're all potatoes, which I just started digging. I dug up the red Norlands this last week, and then I need to dig some more of these this week. I've got Yukon Golds on this side, which are just about done. and huckleberry golds on that side that are just about, but the rest that's in the center still look like they could use a little bit of time. But this whole row eventually, like in the next couple of weeks, will be completely available for the next crop. Then we've got our red cabbage right here, which I can start harvesting some of these. They look really good. Like no damage. Isn't that the most beautiful plant? They look silver, like there's an iridescent, shiny, metallic quality about them. These are Ruby Perfection is the variety name. And then we've got celery, which has gone to seed, and a whole bunch more onions in the front of that part of that row. Larkspur, I thought I lost every single one of these after I planted. In fact, a lot of the stuff in the first 2 rows, it's a little hit and miss because these are the first crops I planted out here. And then of course we had wind, and I thought the wind took them all away, but clearly a lot of them stuck around. It took a long time for them to come up though. So I had completely lost hope. I cannot remember what I planted here. I don't remember. I had some random seedlings that I just popped in the ground out here. So I'll just have to see what happens. This one looks like it's got some flowers about ready to come out. Then we'll be able to tell. There's some asters that just have struggled. We've pulled some of them out again because of the water issue. Okay, so this right here needs to come out. This was the white finch Orlaia, which you have to do succession crops every 2 to 3 weeks. You need to seed this in order for a succession because it doesn't stay like amazing for that long out in the garden, but it was amazing. I used it in so many arrangements. Beautiful white discs of flowers, and it was just, they lasted a long time, and I'm really happy with it. And see, I only planted a little bit, and next time I'll know to plant more. Popped a couple of gomphrena in here that I had extra. Then we've got some pincushion flowers just starting to bloom. And then some more pincushion flowers that are a little bit behind, but they'll just be a later crop. We've got pincushion flowers here. There's another variety here. We've got Clary Sage looking beautiful, and the pollinators are just all over it. Right behind me, there's Nigella, which honestly, like this stuff is an early crop as well. These seed pods are amazing. So I left them because I just wanted to leave them until I had time to harvest them and then maybe save some of these and dry them for arrangements. So they look kind of crummy, but they're just waiting for me to come out here and get them pulled up, and we'll get them hanging somewhere to dry all the way. Bells of Ireland looking so beautiful. Look at that. Isn't that the most lush looking crop? I love it. And then we've got a, this is a type of Matthiola, called Girofle. I don't know. I'm gonna have to put the name on the screen. It was a really fun, delicate cut flower for a while, and then it kind of gets mangy really fast. So I'm not sure that that's one that I'll put in an actual cut flower garden situation again, but in the flower beds, yes. Bunnytails grass looked very poorly when we planted it, and it looks so great now. A lot of it though, like it's done, and I need to pull it, but the seed heads are just beautiful. They're really, really soft. And you guys, that's pretty much it for this space right now. Of course, we will do another tour here in a little while once the dahlias have put on some size. And I'll probably be doing some other videos and showing you what crops are going to be going in. Last year, I was still planting things right at the end of July and had plenty of time to have a really wonderful crop from them, both with vegetables and with fruit. So anyway, we'll be showing you that as we go along. But it's just, I'm so happy with this space. And as you look down toward the back part, you can kind of see the whole reason why we put the black fence back there as kind of a stop for your eye. Of course, when the trees get bigger, that'll look like a beautiful little room. And then just imagine that flower shed sitting right in the center. And then we do intend on putting a fountain right in the middle where the two pathways meet. So that's kind of a long-term plan. We have discussed whether or not we should do a boxwood border around this. Maybe you guys could weigh in with your opinion on that. It would take an enormous amount of boxwoods, and I really didn't want hedging maintenance out here, but I do think that it would bring a little bit of, it would heighten the design out here. It would look really pretty. But I'm just trying to weigh the pros and cons there. Maybe we should work on filling up more of the space before we haul off and plant hundreds of boxwoods around this garden space. But anyway, super happy with how everything's doing, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.